Mr. Heath Jones, do you mind praying over the meeting, sir?
Yes, sir. Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you for this opportunity for us to gather this evening. Thank you for the wonderful spring-like weather that we've seen the last few weeks. I ask that you please be with this board, our district leadership, as we make decisions for each student in Madison County. In his precious name, amen.
Amen.
Mr. Superintendent, we've got a full house in here tonight.
We do. We got a few things to celebrate, both academically and athletically and personnel-wise.
That's
So,
right.
Let's
So
start with.
I'll turn it over to you, sir.
All right, let's start with our National Board Certification teachers, Dr. Curry, Ms. Greer, Mr. Allen.
Well, good evening, y'all. Thank you for having us tonight. Congratulations to the varsity cheerleaders, big accomplishment. And just thank you so much for allowing us to be here, talk a little bit about National Board Certified Teachers. We're pleased in the third year of our Raise Your Hand campaign, which is the campaign to have the highest density of National Board Certified Teachers in the country at 27%. So we're 3 years into that campaign. We're about $280,000 off of that. And in the last 3 years, we've really increased the percentage in our three systems by 54%. So this persistent effort in raising these funds to allow our teachers to have that professional level of certification and development is working. And so we're here to tell you we're still going to persevere. We're going to get there, and we're going to get there and have that density in the next few years. So we appreciate all of you helping in that space, and so grateful for our partner, the Schools Foundation, as well over the last 3 years in this Raise Your Hand campaign. So the work is getting there, and congratulations to all the teachers that were certified this last round.
I'm Jeannie Greer. I'm with the Schools Foundation, and as a retired educator, I want to congratulate all you. I know that it is a very challenging process, and I'm sure you feel very achieved at this point. I've had several colleagues who did this process, and so I'm very proud of you, and thank you for putting forth that effort for our children. Do we have a tag?
Let's put the president right here.
Perfect. Thank you. Dr. Curry? Dr. Curry? Did you want to read? I thought you were too. I was about to ask that, but they all decided it was.
Mr. Walker got a little anxious, but it's just fine.
All right, yeah. Are you sure? All right. No, I'll go ahead and take care of it. So, we really appreciate the Schools Foundation and the Committee 100 and what they do for our National Board Certified Teachers. But as of December of 2023, the board recognition at the April 4th meeting, these are the following new National Board Certified Teachers in our district: Lauren Agee, Karen Allen, Tracy Bailey, Kim Borgett, Kelly Evans, Teresa Ferguson, Kayla Grice-Dobbins, Greg Martin, Angela Masterska, Kawani Murphy, Carolyn Phillips, Jessica Stanzel, Jonathan Vinson, Crystal Watkins. And the following ones renewed for another 5 years: Jennifer Arnold, Kim Foster, Sharon Freeman, Mindy Pierce, and Carl Schomburg. So just wanted to make sure that we recognize them, and that they got their picture and they got out of there. They're taking more pictures out front. Where the little torches are out front, their names will be put on those torches and they'll go out on the foyer too. Yeah, I think we are, sir. That's a good problem. I mean, I'm okay with that. The next recognition is, now we have our student part, and we have Buckhorn Varsity Cheer State National Championship. Athletic Supervisor, Mr. Rogers.
So it was another outstanding season for the Buckhorn High School cheer team, with their 2023-2024 varsity squads bringing home 7 championships at the state and national levels. The Buckhorn Large Varsity Game Day squad was absolutely dominant this season, bringing home an AHSA 6A Super Regional and State Championship before traveling to the UCA National High School Cheerleading Championships in Orlando. There, the Buckhorn Large Varsity Game Day squad was crowned national champions, beating out 31 other teams in their division. The small varsity traditional squad also secured 2 AHSA regional titles, the AHSA 6A Super Regional Championship and the Class 6A AHSA State Championship. After an undefeated season, the traditional squad went to nationals, where they placed 5th of the 87 teams within their division. The Buckhorn cheer squad also has a bright future, with their junior varsity squad bringing home 3 AHSA regional titles, 2 Super Regional Championships, and an AHSA State Championship. Once again, congratulations to the Buckhorn High School cheer program on an outstanding season. We look forward to seeing the continued success in the years to come. And I'd just like to mention this. I think Coach Faith was being a little bit, she wasn't fully selling herself out on everything that they've done. They've won a state championship 5 straight years. So this isn't like it's a new thing. Again, they've been consistently pretty dominant within the UCA, competitions. And again, Coach Faith, Miss Pierce, Miss Utley, Miss Bagdonis, all of them have had children in the program, correct? And some have graduated out, and they just continue coming back and leading these young ladies to success, and young men as well. But again, congratulations to these young ladies and men.
Lord. Now, let's go ahead and do a picture with them behind the board members up here. Yes. Young ladies, and is there any gentlemen out there? We'll just have you line right behind us.
Slide in.
Come on over with these, Bill.
We have 2 more. Any more over there? Keep going, y'all. Shift down. We know how to do this. Something we should be doing well. Some of you short ones, scoot up. Scoot up. Like, scoot up. Emma, go up. Kylie, squat. Or, no, swap. There we go. Wait, where are you? Okay. Is that good? Yeah. Shifting. Oh, good.
I think you should put readjust sensitivity. Okay. But I'm gonna just put it in over. See? You figured it out pretty quick.
Hello, 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 hello.
Sure get lonely.
All right, sir. Our,
Informational items.
yes, sir. We have the Youth Tobacco and Vaping Program from the Partnership for the Drug-Free Community here this evening.
I usually have a big mouth, I don't need the mic, but I definitely will have it because everyone else has had the mic as well. Thank you so much for allowing the Partnership for Drug-Free Community to come before you today. We have our Executive Director, Ms. Cheryl Russell, who does an awesome job with us. I am Jacqueline Carter, the program manager. We have many hats that we wear there. Sometimes you're like, okay, well, I'm wearing this hat. But definitely the program manager for our tobacco and vaping program. Also have with us Ms. Catherine Frazier, who is our project coordinator. It is an honor to be before you today. Thank you for allowing the Partnership for a Drug-Free Community to come to speak to you this evening. I've already introduced myself. I won't do that again. I am here this evening to talk about the partnership as an organization, its role in the community, our goals to increase outreach to schools in Madison County, and to highlight possible changes to the Madison County Schools tobacco policy to encourage moving forward to a 100% tobacco-free campus at schools. Who is the partnership? What does partnership do? Partnership for a Drug-Free Community, established in 1988, is a nonprofit dedicated to creating a healthier drug-free community in northern Alabama. We empower youth through drug, alcohol, education, and prevention programs and offer adult recovery resources and treatment referrals, all at no cost. Education and services. Here are some of our resources. The Resource Hub, where we centralize recovery resource information for Madison County and Huntsville areas to assist in navigating the resources and the process to those in need of treatment. The opioid prevention, we use Aussie Ops, our lovable ostrich, to highlight programs targeting youth ages 7 to 18. The program highlights the danger of prescription drugs use early on and teaches character building skills to make good decisions. If schools are looking for ways to spend their Jules settlement funds, this is the perfect opportunity and to invite our programs. Partnership is looking at concerns of toxic synthetic fentanyl being added into our vaping, smoking, and being mixed with or added to prescription opioids. Our final focus and the subject of our presentation today is on tobacco and vaping. Our information comes directly from our Alabama Department of Public Health, and we utilize the Stanford University's Tobacco Prevention Toolkit. Presentations in schools at least last from 35 to 45 minutes, giving their pre-test and post-test each time. Now we're going to have our beautiful Catherine to come.
Hi, thank you for having us here today. I'm going to be giving the presentation as quickly and efficiently as possible for your time. We did cut out some presentation and educational examples that we give to get the students interactive, so it's not just a sit and listen presentation. We want them engaged. We want them discussing and speaking with their peers. So other than that, this is the presentation and information we try to give to the students. Before we can talk about tobacco products, let's get a basic understanding about the brain. Our brain affects how we perceive and experience the world around us. Multiple areas of the brain are working in the same time to keep us engaged with our surroundings. During teen and young adult years, the brain is creating new pathways and connections to new areas of the brain. Similar to how most communities will change roads to adapt to changing environments and communities as the population grows, so does the brain to deal with the complexity we come across as we age. Dopamine is one of the brain's biggest neurotransmitters and regulators. Drugs can hijack dopamine. It is the brain's reward system and helps us take action in dangerous situations. Drugs cause anywhere from 2 to 10 times the release of dopamine and last longer than the normal levels of dopamine released during survival situations, better known as our fight or flight response. Cigarettes release a dopamine boost that makes you feel good at first, but when you begin to chase and crave that boost, and you need to smoke more to get that boost, this is what leads to addiction. People at this point just need nicotine to feel normal, as the body craves it. Knowing this and on how safe it is, why do people still choose to use products that contain nicotine? Is vaping safer than smoking? The short answer is no. Vape pod-based systems contain nicotine despite being marketed as relatively harmless compared to cigarettes. We've talked about how nicotine hijacks dopamine, but nicotine also mimics acetylcholine in the brain. It does not interact with the way naturally produced acetylcholine should behave. Acetylcholine is all over the body. When the nicotine mimics acetylcholine, the heart beats faster, acid reflux occurs, damage to our lungs, and it can even hurt our reproductive organs. Nicotine itself causes trouble breathing. Nicotine levels in each pod can range to the equivalent of about 2 to 5 packs of cigarettes. An interesting fact to know is in a single pack of cigarettes, there's about 20. Juul pods are approximately 2 packs each. Surigon Vegan has the most nicotine at 4.5 packs. With this much variation in products, one would think that vape labeling would be consistent. It's not. Labeling will use percentages, milliliters, or milligrams interchangeably, but without context, creating confusion. How many known and unknown chemicals are in the pods? Nicotine, benzoic acid, glycerol, propylene glycol, natural oils, extracts, and so much more. Those are just a few to name. What exactly does labeling mean by natural oils and extracts and flavors? How do all vaping components interact with the body and affect it? We do not know this. This has not been studied. Chemicals in the pods affect the respiratory system when inhaled and damage the skin when exposed directly. But little research has been done on the long-term effects. With over 15,000 flavors, marketing and tobacco lobbies such as R.J. Reynolds know how to lure new users. Advertisements particularly focus on young people. Another form of smoking and tobacco, appearing to be less harmful than cigarettes, are hookah and water pipes. But are they? How do they work, and what are the risks? How it works is simple. Tobacco is heated, the smoke is then pulled into the water bowl, cooled, condensed, and then inhaled. What are the risks? Well, 1 cigarette is equal to about 20 puffs on a hookah pipe. In an hour session, a person can have up to 200 puffs, the equivalent of 10 cigarettes, in just 1 hour. Hookahs are usually used in prolonged social sessions by multiple people. Since COVID, it should be no surprise to all of us that multiple people sharing things and that they put in their mouths can spread infections. Hookah sessions have always carried the risk of TB, herpes, and hepatitis being shared because people are smoking out of the same pipe. Now that we have discussed vaping is not safer than cigarettes, let's call them what they are: e-cigarettes, electronic cigarettes. Let's learn what's really in these and their different parts. There is a battery that activates the atomizer with a heating coil that activates an absorbent material that absorbs the liquid that contains nicotine, flavoring, and the other chemicals. They can come preloaded, disposable, or reusable. The e-liquid or e-juice is heated and aerosolized to be inhaled in the body. What do you think of when you hear these words? Vapor, gas, and aerosol. These definitions are important, and these definitions matter. Gas is a substance with indefinite expansion. Vapor, the same as gas, but it doesn't have a specific definition. Think of steam or fog. Can you describe it? Aerosol is the one I would like to most focus on. It's a mixture of liquid particles suspended in a gas. It leaves droplets behind. These definitions matter because of what is really being inhaled into our bodies. E-cigarettes and e-juice is an aerosol. Second and third hand smoke is so dangerous because it is an aerosol. The list of chemicals in e-juice is long. Most of the chemicals listed are listed individually, used in hazardous situations. One of the things we talked about earlier was propylene glycol, often used in antifreeze. Another chemical that's listed in some vape pods is formaldehyde, used in embalming. Nicotine is highly addictive and in high doses, a poison itself. Advertising targets young people and spending a lot of money on ads. Why do cigarettes and vapes matter to young people? When giving presentations to students, we have targeted activities and discussions. One of these is talking to peers, speaking up, and answering questions like these. Why are teens drawn to vaping? Why are adults drawn to vaping? Answers we have heard and can include environment, flavors, ads, jobs, other things that pertain to that individual. What about why do peers choose to vape or smoke? And answers, once again, can include some of the same things, but can also include family influence and social media. Everyone of all age groups have different reasons for why they choose to vape or not to. So why are we spending so much time focusing on young people? Well, because smokers, as they tobacco companies are directly targeting them. Who is going to replace their older smokers as they continue to make money and have a market? Teens have been the main focus of the target of the tobacco industry since the early 1980s and even earlier by some companies. Think of all the movies we grew up watching with the 70s and 80s, the cool kids that smoke cigarettes, so specifically Grease. One of the quotes that, as a young person, struck me the most when thinking about all the advertising that was around was this from R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company. They represent tomorrow's cigarette business. As an age group matures, they will account for a key share of the total cigarette volume for at least the next 25 years. That was written on September 30th, 1975. As a young person, I don't exactly like being considered a dollar sign to these tobacco companies. As seen previously, their ads are targeted to make tobacco trendy to young people. Flavored tobacco is their target towards young people. We have made steps with the FDA to ban certain flavors of vaping and cigarettes since 2009 and 2020, but there's still much work to be done. These strategies in marketing are not new. Breaking down tobacco ads is one of the activities we do with our students to make them understand why these advertisements are targeting them. Ms. Carter.
Thank you so much. Now that you've heard all the great information about the tobacco and vaping, and some thinking that it's safer to have a vape than to have cigarettes. And I tell the young people that the same company that made the cigarettes are making the vaping products as well. And the students are like, no, because this is healthier. We definitely want to make sure that we're raising awareness about the vapes, raising awareness to our young people, raising awareness to our educators as well, that sit in the rooms with them every day. Because there are disguising ways that some of the kids may come in with a vape because they are making so many different products. It could go onto a hooded jacket and you can just hook it on and it's a vape. There'll be an ink pen or a highlighter and you're thinking that it's just something that they're using as a utensil, but it may be a vaping product. So definitely our programs, we're making sure that we're raising awareness everywhere we go about the vapes and the dangers. And the kids tell me all the time, oh, there's no nicotine in these. Each time that they have a puff, there's about 10 to 20 cigarettes at one time that they take on when they're vaping. So we want to make sure that we're raising awareness. Our reason for being here today is possibly having different policies updated that will reflect not having the e-cigarettes, parts of the student handbooks that will definitely show that we're working towards a 100% tobacco-free policy. That means that in our extracurricular activities, that may means when someone is visiting the building, when the kids are off-site as well, making sure that we have those policies that are addressing that for sure. One of the examples that we have is tobacco. Add the following language into the language, and this is just some of the things that we do as far as working with the policies. And I'm going to be wrapping this up soon. Tobacco products and their use are prohibited when on school grounds, when attending or participating in any extracurricular activities that are or not school-sponsored but held on campus. So those are different ways that we bring out attention into your policies, making sure that they are as strong as they can be, to make sure that our kids are healthier each and every day.
Ma'am, that page 52, that's in our current policy?
Page 52?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that may be a reference that we use for that, for sure.
Thank
Page
you.
52, yes. We have others as well. Is that correct, Catherine?
Yes, ma'am, there are others. That is just my example of a quote, making it more tobacco, 1% tobacco-free policy, just adding in some additional language. Most of that language is currently pulled from the policy online that we found. Just adding in that, because right now it says that there should be no tobacco on school-sponsored events. So we're saying whether it's school-sponsored or not, it should include both, as long as it is on the campus, and that is our suggestion.
Thank you.
We thank you so much for your time. I'm Jacqueline, and this is Catherine, and most definitely, if you have any questions, we are here, and we can stay a couple of minutes if you need us to.
Just out of curiosity, what's the youngest student that you all have seen vaping or smoking cigarettes?
The youngest, most of them have been in elementary schools, and not in the 6th grade, but they have been in the 5th grade.
A story from a teacher not too far from here. A 1st grade student brought his dad's vape pipe to school, and he was selling hits on the vape pipe in the bathroom for $1 a hit. Now, that is probably anecdotally, and I could not reveal that to us, but that was one of the stories that we had heard when we were asked to come to their school. Another story was a 4th grader who came to school. When he came, he was fine. By 11 o'clock in the morning, very agitated, very anxious, meeting with the parent, we realized that he had been vaping at home, and he was in withdrawal by 11 o'clock in the morning. So that's why we're doing
Yes.
what we do. This is the 4th year that we have had the grant with the Alabama Department of Public Health. They're very pleased with what we have been doing, and they approached us this year and offered additional funding, and we were able to add Catherine Frazier as another project coordinator so that we can reach additional schools and provide this information. I think one of our greatest concerns is the fact that with the vape pipes, we passed out a hard drive bracelet for you. That is actually, in some instances, disguised as a vape. Students can wear a bracelet, and when they take it out, it looks like a removable thumb drive, but it's actually a vaping. And there's a bill before the legislature trying to address the fact that there is a huge threat of fentanyl, synthetic fentanyl, getting into the vape stream. And so that's why, our concern and wanting to come to you today and say thank you for the schools that already have us, but also know that, with Jacqueline and Catherine's work, we know that there's much more that we can do.
No, I was gonna stay there, no. I thought she was gonna speak.
We appreciate you very much for coming and sharing tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Y'all have a great evening, okay?
Thank you.
We all know how to clean a room quickly. Thank you so much.
Mr. Superintendent, gonna move on to administrative items?
Yes, sir. I recommend approval of the agenda dated April 4th, 2024.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I recommend approval of the increase to daycare salaries and tuition as submitted.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion?
My only question is, there's two proposals that we received, A and B. Did it specify which one we're voting on, or both?
No, it's the one that has the salary schedule was in B, and it was $65 was the increase to the tuition. There's part,
One was the salary schedule, and one was the increase, and then the salary
Right.
schedule is what it paid for.
but it was $65, is the,
So one is 67 and one's 65.
right, the $65 is the one that, it was, the $65 is what the increase is for the tuition. And then the, salary increase was. Thanks, Kathy.
So just to reiterate, this is going to bring in, we're doing this to bring in more people to work so we can actually have more kids, correct?
Correct, and this was brought to us from the principals that have the daycares at their schools. They're having a hard time keeping employees because they can go to McDonald's and they can go to some of the fast food places and make
Like a couple
$15
dollars
an
an hour.
hour. And so we were at $8 an hour, and so this is to increase to make it more competitive, so they're willing to stay and work for ours. But because it is funded, these positions are funded by the enrollment at the daycare. That was why the increase, and the increase was a $10 increase.
I see what you're saying.
And Mr. Brooks, I believe the idea is that if we raise the tuition and we raise the salary, we will attract more daycare teachers and provide this very useful service to more of our families so that they can pick up their students after work.
Right,
at
because
school.
we have a lot of times that the programs are filling up because we don't have enough workers.
And there are waiting lists that are never filled.
Right.
So Nathan is correct. There are two, for the part of the increase, there was a proposal A for 17% and a proposal B for 21%. And then how that affected the salary schedule. So that's the question is, are we voting on proposal A or proposal B on the first two pages?
I thought it was proposal A, the way I read it.
Yeah, but we probably need to make sure that that's specified in the.
Yeah, I just want to be clear that,
and-
It is in Assembly that says consensus is to go with the increase in salaries for proposal B and the increase in tuition in proposal A attached here.
I see, okay.
Okay.
I see that in the
So
description.
it's
I'm
the
sorry.
21% increase of $67 because we're going with proposal B?
We're calling for proposal B in the salary.
The way, Mr. Evans sent it out in the email that way, saying that we're taking this piece of this page one and this piece of page two in that, his original email.
So what we're having is we're gonna increase the fees to $65, and then that's in turn gonna fund the proposed salaries in salary schedule B. Is that what we're talking about?
It says right here, the consensus, this is from Mr. Evans, the consensus from the principals was to go with the increase in salaries from proposal B and to increase in tuition from proposal A attached here, but it was rounded down to $65 instead of the.
Perhaps we could have been a little more detailed in proposal B request of 21. See what I'm saying? I know communication is hard, clearly. But do you see what I'm saying? From our standpoint, it's tough to, when you're saying proposal B.
Yeah.
The consensus was B, and then we're going to go with B in the salary schedule. But for us, is that the consensus or is that your recommendation?
I agree.
I guess is the question that we need to know. Is your recommendation that we are increasing 21% or 17%? Because I realize it's their proposal, but it's your recommendation. So
Correct.
if you could clarify,
Let's do it this way.
Please.
Let me bring it back to you in one proposal at the next
Yes.
board meeting, so that it says, this is what the tuition will be, and this is what the salary schedule will be. Because the principal sent this in this way to Mr. Evans,
'Cause I
and he
underst-
asked them how it was, and they
Yes.
said, this is what they wanted. So they just did it by percentages to show both in relationship. But I'll bring it back to you next board meeting with this specific salary
Yeah.
for tuition
Your
increase.
recommendation
And
is
this, yeah,
this
we can do that.
increase,
So-
and it'll
So, Mr.
create this
President,
salary
I
schedule.
recommend that we withdraw administrative action A for consideration for tonight, and let's postpone that to the next meeting.
Or the superintendent already stated the withdrawal, correct?
Correct.
So the board won't have to do it.
Excellent.
So it's really just a table.
Good.
We don't have to vote on the table or anything?
No.
So we're just,
No.
okay. So that's just withdrawn from, okay.
Yeah, I understand the convolutedness to the
Well, I
way
didn't realize
it's
it
up.
until everybody had a different concept of what we were talking about.
And I didn't read the description under the consensus. However, it would be nice to have one document that has what we're voting on versus me having to look at proposal B for the salary and then proposal A for the tuition, which makes sense, but just having it in one document be
Yeah,
good.
we
Be
can do
good.
that. And this will be going in for the next school years. This is, so that way there's plenty of time to have it posted so they can let parents know and everything else. So we'll bring that back on the 18th with a very clear, this is the tuition increase, this is the salary increase, and just in one document to make it a lot simpler. Mhm. I recommend approval of the contract change order for Walnut Grove School as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion?
I just wanted to clarify, this is actually from last year, but they've got their paperwork in this. That's correct. So it doesn't really change anything for what we had budgeted and everything, it just gives us some money back. That's correct. Okay, is there any more money to come by, I mean, could you find? We do have another project that's still out there, so. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I read that correctly. Okay.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I recommend approval of the February 2024 financial statements and payments of bill as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I recommend approval of the bid renewals as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I recommend approval of the contracts for services as submitted.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I recommend the termination of employee number 1 and employee at Endeavor Elementary School effective April 19th, 2024.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I recommend approval of the personnel items as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I recommend approval of the supplemental contracts as submitted.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I believe that's it.
sir.
So before we take a motion to adjourn, do I have anybody has anything for the good of the board?
Yes, sir. First thing, I'd like to thank everybody who stayed tonight. Before we went on spring break, I walked around every one of the schools that I'm responsible for, and I got kind of a constant drum of complaints from teachers, aides, even principals about our basic discipline.
you know, there need to be reasonable consequences for small misbehavior. And they feel as a rule, they don't have some of the tools that they need. You know, small stuff does matter. It takes up time in a classroom, it takes up time, it's annoying, it distracts students. And also, the use of cell phones and things like that came up in my discussions. And, you know, we need to think in terms of providing as many tools to our teachers and principals to address these small items as we can. And I think as we get ready for next school year, we need to think in terms of, you know, in my mind's eye, a parking space at a high school is a privilege, not a right. In my mind's eye, there are other things that are privileges and not a right. And I think that we need to start looking at giving these more tools to these teachers and principals in the spring so that we can implement them in the fall when we open up school in the fall of August. The other thing that I would like to have is I'd like to have a presentation on remote work. Remote work is something that is, with the advent of the computer, and as Mr. Kubik and I were talking, the policy manual was basically written in 2011. Remote work was an abstract concept then. And I'm interested in to know how remote work's approved, and I'm interested in to know how we keep track of it on our timesheets. Because when I talk to my wife, and Mr. Curry, my wife works in the information field, much like you, when she has to do remote work, she has to have approval beforehand, and it has to be noted on her timesheet. And I'm interested in how we do that now. I'm not saying that I don't know enough about it to make a decision or recommendation or what we need to do. But I am interested in how we do remote work, and I'm well aware that remote work is done by our most senior administrators predominantly. You know, teachers don't have the opportunity to do remote work as they're in the classroom, and custodians and bus drivers, they don't have that opportunity either. So, and the final thing I'd like to have us think about is we discussed real quickly, we had a presentation about fees for foreign exchange students from the last couple of board meetings. And that topic interests me, and I don't know what the outcome of that presentation is, but I don't want to be an outlier in fees for foreign exchange students. I want us to be in line with pretty much our surrounding school systems. I think it's good for the foreign exchange student that comes to Madison County. I also think it's good for the people that sit next to the foreign exchange students to understand that there's a different way of doing something in Egypt, or there's a different way of doing something in Japan or Germany, and you can list whatever, and different doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong, it means it's different. So what I'm asking for is for us to examine our discipline policies between now and the end of school. I'm asking us to have a presentation on remote work, and let's go back to this topic of fees for foreign exchange students, and I look forward to the superintendent's recommendation on whether we should adjust those fees or not.
Thank you, Mr. Byrd. Do I have anybody else has anything?
I would agree with what Mr. Byrd presented right now. And I would also like to say that do we need to start having conversations about cell phones inside our classrooms? I know that there's a lot of school systems across the state, across the country that have implemented policies that have been successful when it comes to outcome of testing scores. I understand that there's principals throughout our district that already have a policy for cell phones, and it seems like it's working pretty well from what I understand, but is it something district-wide that we need to consider, and instead of just allowing certain schools that want to do it, but get some kind of standard across the district with some type of policy, because you know, I hear from a lot of teachers, friends of mine, and parents that that's a huge distraction in the classroom. And there's a lot of inappropriate things that are going on cell phones on our campuses that if we had a policy to regulate that, it may cut down on some of those things. And I'm sure our SRO staff could speak to some of that in an executive session if we needed it in a future meeting, but I'd like to see if we can come to some kind of agreement and start looking at some kind of policy to regulate it.
Sensitivity.
Just a question, kind of what he's saying a little bit. We don't actually have like a blanket policy, do? Is it kind of left up to the schools right now?
You have a cell phone policy. I can't quote it to you off the top of my head.
I mean, but there's like some schools, they're not allowed out, some schools are allowed out.
Is it discretion of the school?
That's what I was asking, yeah.
Bring your own device.
That's what I was asking, but I mean, some schools are allowed to have them, some schools are not. So you're kind of asking for something to be kind of more uniform across the district.
Yeah.
You could roll that
Yeah.
into my request
Yeah.
for discipline.
You could do it like at Buckhorn where there's not enough signal to use one.
It's
That works
a
well.
blackout.
We could put jammers up,
Yeah.
and black them out.
I mean, I think there's some value to a cell phone when it comes to a specific instruction, but it seems to me, and I understand parents want to have access to their kid 24/7, 365, but it seems to me that cell phones in the classroom may cause more harm than good. There's things going on, between students. There's Snapchat. There's just a myriad of things that are going on that seem to cause disruption. And I think parents, if they understood what the purpose was to restrict cell phone use, I think parents would understand. Obviously, there's emergency situations that parents want to get in touch with their student. We understand that. So maybe finding some kind of balance for cell phone use. One more thing to kind of piggyback on Mr. Jones, Mr. Byrd, and Mr. Brooks. I like to find us to have a discussion about creative ways we can make some of this discipline really impact the parents more. I think there's a level of parental accountability that we need to start to focus on. That, I know my parents used to tell me if I had to come up to the school, it's going to be worse, 10 times worse for you than than what the school's going to do to you. And so having a way, if that means parents have to be inconvenienced, I have to take off work, come up to the school, have to sit with their child for the entire day, those type of strategies to make the point that, hey, look, we want your kid to come to school to learn and be ready, but we need your help with this. And to the point where some of this accountability starts at the house. I hear it a lot. The school. Here's the problem. If you only did this at the school, And we're like, okay, time out. What can you do at home to help us? We need parents to be that accountable partner with us. And we can do what we can do at school. We don't get it right all the time. But we need parents to be held to a level of account as much as we can in the context of a school environment. So just something, if you all can chew on that, we have a discussion about that. What things can we put in policy that parents have to some degree, be inconvenienced to make the point that we need your kid here to learn.
Anybody else got anything?
I'm going to change gears just a little bit, and I hope I'm not letting anybody's cat out of the bag, but this evening we accepted the resignation of Michael Romine. And I realize he did not do it all by himself. Everyone has a little help, but he was a leader in making sure that our Career Tech program over the last decade became much more heavily attended. It was much more robust. We added a lot of programs. When I came on the board, Mr. Romine came to me and said, "We don't have a board member. Would you be our board member?" And that was very touching to me. Career Tech is something that is very important to me. And at that time, I don't think we had any certified programs where you graduated from Career Tech certified, able to get a job. And I'm pretty sure at last count, we have close to 10 to 12. And that's a lot of work over 10 years. That's adding one a year. Attendance is much larger. I think our programs are much more relevant, and I think he's done a great job at forwarding Career Tech in this system. So I just wanted to say kudos to him. I highly doubt that on a Thursday night, if he's planning to retire, he's listening to this, but I hope someone lets him know that the board really appreciates what Mr. Romine has done over the last decade for Career Tech.
I definitely second that.
Well, second.
Well said, Ms. Bates. I had the pleasure of working with Mr. Romine for a while when I was in computer services and being a technical role. And what he's done is nothing short of remarkable. He's represented our district well, and we're blessed to have him lead our Career Tech program. We've seen nothing but growth. So I'm certainly, he will be missed. He'll be missed. And we thank you for your listening, Mr. Romine. We appreciate you.
I appreciate all y'all. Does anybody have anything else, or?
Yes, sir.
You have something, sir?
I do. All right, so just for clarification purposes, the cell phone policy there, and I agree with y'all. I've been doing a lot of reading about the school systems that are putting in no cell phones at all, and they're locking them down and everything, and how it's impacting academics. But our cell phone policy which is 6.08, it is prohibited on school grounds unless it's allowed by the administration for academic purposes. So the policy's already there. It's just about whether we need to strengthen it and what we want to allow. One of the things I had a conversation with Ms. Rodman about was, for instance, some of the bandwidth that's being used is being used for, we'll just say YouTube, okay? Well, there's a YouTube for teachers and there's a YouTube for students, and those can be controlled, and you can cut out the regular YouTube that they can have access to. So there's some things that we can do from the district level to say, these sites are no longer allowed. Now, the flip side of that is, if they're allowing them to use their cell phones, they can go on their own data and get there. Is that correct, Nikki? So they can get there with their own data, but they can't use the district's site to go to some of those things. So we can control some of that and limit sites that they can or can't go. But, so just so I get a feel on the cell phone, we want to look at the policy and strengthening it as far as what the principals have authority to allow or not allow. Because a lot of our schools are, they're not letting cell phones be used. So I just want to make sure that whatever I'm asking to, present y'all with is the right thing.
So currently is prohibited, and clearly they're not prohibited. I mean, it's not being enforced. And I understand, enforcing requires, coding requires, ISS. There's a lot of steps to that. Discipline goes back to Mr. Byrd, discipline. And, I can hear a principal right now saying, we're going to be coding cell phones all day long. But, we got to find a better way to enforce. And certainly use technology to lock down streams to do that. I mean, we have, certainly I know Nikki is more than capable on her team in putting something together, but enforcement is key.
And, Mr. Curry, it goes back to what I mentioned about discipline. Not all discipline involves ISS or encoding. I know of successful schools that their cell phone policy goes something like this. The first time your cell phone is taken up, you turn it into the front office, and they keep a log. And the student comes in and picks it up at the end of the day. The second time it's taken up, mom or dad have to come and pick it up. And mom and dad don't know, this goes back to your imposition of the parent. And if mom and dad don't want to get there until 10 days later, the kid lives without a cell phone. If mom and dad wants to get there miss work and get the cell phone, well, that's fine. But we have to come up with creative ways to discipline that don't involve coding for ISS and don't involve expulsion and suspension, which we as a board vigorously enforce. And in my mind's eye, that discussion of these creative ways don't belong on this table. They belong in meetings of the assistant superintendents and assistant principals and principals inside of each cluster so that we can be uniform.
I'll say this, and I'm going to try to be careful with my words. So I think if we take a lot of the cell phones out, we would lose, or there wouldn't be as many fights in school. Because the videos I've seen is, and our SOs are shaking their head, SROs, I'm just saying.
In agreement.
To look at some of the videos we've seen, the amount of students pulling their cell phones out to record a fight. Mm-hmm. I think that makes the fighters go worse than they would have. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I'll say that, and I wasn't trying to get that into a discussion because that could be a rabbit hole that we could go down. But yeah, I'm with that, and parents would have to realize too that we're not trying to get it to where you can't reach your kids. If there's an emergency, you can call the school, and your kids will know about that emergency within a minute or two. I mean, it's so I mean, it's not like we're cutting off all communications with your children. We're just trying to have a safer environment for our students, SROs, teachers, administrators. I mean, we're doing it to better. It's not to be mean. It's to actually better your education.
More successful learning environment and better discipline.
Correct. Does anybody have anything else?
Well, I'm not done yet, sir.
I'm sorry.
Well, the next thing is the fees for the foreign exchange. Just, I want to give you guys the foundation for why. Okay, Madison County, you guys spend about $10,800 on a student. Every student in our district gets that amount of money spent on them. Well, as the gentleman talked about, yes, if we have an ADM, if they come in at the beginning of the year and they're an ADM, we will get what the state gives us, which is the $7,000. The fee is only that offsets what we spend on every child in this district. So that's where the fee comes from. The fee doesn't come to the central office, it doesn't come there. The fee goes directly to the school for the school to use. So if you want to get rid of the fee, you know, the principals have the discretion of whether or not they want to take a foreign exchange student. They also have the discretion based on their enrollment, and we're overcrowded in our schools as it is. So the fee is only to cover the difference between what the state gives us and what we spend on every student in our district per year. So-
Basically, the difference between local units and.
Right.
Correct. So that's what makes up the fee. It's not, you know, it wasn't designed to make money on foreign exchange student. It was just basically to pay whatever we spend on a student, this is the same amount across the board. So that's where the fee came from. I just wanted you all to know how we got to the fee. It wasn't something and the fee goes directly to the school that takes the student because they're the ones that, you know, are having to get whatever they need for that student. So it doesn't come here, it goes there.
So the other district, go ahead. Go
But
ahead.
the other districts, I understand, don't charge that fee. And I'm not, I think in my mind's eye, I'm just wondering how many kids are we talking about? If we're talking 1,000 kids, well, we got a problem. If we're talking 5 or 10 kids, and that's something to discuss.
Yeah, so, yeah, to Mr. Bird's point, are we willing, I'm assuming these other districts have chosen to invest in their foreign exchange. Now, they got more tax revenues coming in Madison City and Huntsville City as well, but they've chosen, they got the same issue we have, they just have more money to do it. And so the question is, do we have an amount that we're willing to invest in foreign exchange? If that's, I don't know, $100,000 a year, that equates to a number of students. If they come in for ADM, or if we don't, we say no, we're choosing not because of overcrowding for whatever reason. We're choosing not to invest in foreign exchange. But if we want to invest in it, I think it's fair and reasonable to match our other districts. But we just need to have a ceiling as to what we're willing to invest in the foreign exchange process.
I think, Mr. Curry, you bring up an interesting point about this, and as overcrowding. Instead of thinking of an amount, let's think of the number of students at the whatever schools. For example, there's room in Monrovia Middle School for a foreign exchange student. There's not room in other middle schools. There's room at some high schools for foreign exchange students. And if it's 1 or 2 students, just to have the opportunity for our students in that school to interact with somebody from a different country, that educational opportunity is a cost. But I do believe there should be a cap on the number, and that cap should be something that we economically can afford.
So are we saying, you can correct me if I don't mean to put you on the spot, but does the state allocate, is it $7,000 per student?
Yes.
And it costs about $10,300 to,
Our total expenditure per student is about $10,800.
okay, so for the $7,000 that my children go, where does the other $3,000 come from for them?
That's like,
Local units.
that's a different costs
local
that go
taxes.
with.
That's what I was asking, so. Okay, I was wanting that clarified, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and like I said, this isn't a money maker for the schools.
It's just to make up
like-
the difference.
It's basically saying, so now we're spending the same amount on your 2 children as we are a foreign exchange student. And they're having to come up with the other piece so that we're spending the same amount across the board, and that's what it is. And like I said, that money would go directly to the school, and that's why the principal has the authority to say yay or nay based on, also because they have to look at, like, if they got a real heavy junior class and the juniors coming in, they may not be able to take someone there, but they may be able to take a freshman because they have a smaller class. So that's why the autonomy is up to the principal in order to make that decision. And that's why the money goes to the school, because they're the ones that are having to accommodate that child's academics for that year.
Do we know how many foreign exchange students we have district-wide? Do we,
I can get that from
Yeah,
Ms. Fanning.
And as far as the local tax money going directly to the school, I'm not sure if that's a smart idea, because when I think about it, the local tax money comes to the central office and then it's dispersed. And let's say we have a school, and I'll use the school Xanadu, and the school Xanadu has 5 foreign exchange students. That means that principal gets an extra, 5 times 3.5, so that principal gets an extra 18,000 in its local funds to spend. And
But if that puts him over another unit, he also has to hire another teacher, which is way more than $18,000.
but and that's funded from state and central office funds.
So that's why I was going to clarify with Nathan. You said something about if as a system we decide that we have this much money that we want to invest in our foreign exchange students, are you saying that you would want the system to basically foot that bill from the central office level and then not have that come out of the principal's account at all? Like, it doesn't go in or out, it stays here?
Yeah, I guess I was just thinking, if possible, if foreign exchange students, and for all the reasons mentioned, provide a value to the school district, we have a cap of the number of students based on what we can afford as a district. And that's also based on the size of the school, the overcrowding, and so you have a number, and we cover that cost at the district level, versus, the school gets to keep however that works, that process works. I just thought maybe an investment from the district for foreign exchange would be helpful.
I think what's difficult there is,
The cap's just based on the funds that you're willing to invest. To me,
Aside.
the funds you're willing to invest in the foreign exchange program. So if it's $100,000,
Yeah, so
could be
yes,
wrong,
if you have 10 foreign exchange students, you'd spend $38,000.
right?
but I would want Ms. O'Bannon to chime in on this. and
I agree.
I agree.
Because I think when you're using, because technically what you're using at that point is taxpayer dollars. So you have to be able to track that went where it was supposed to go. So if we have kind of this loose fund that we put it in and then say, well, the school doesn't get it, but they get it to be able to do, then I think that gets very muddy, as opposed to if this school takes that student, then this school gets that amount, because it makes it equitable to what we have put in for every other student. I don't think we can kind of,
I think Ms. Bates, your point's very well, very smart. And I think the way to handle this issue is, let's take a look at what our neighboring school systems are doing and see how they solve these types of things.
Well, you gotta remember though, your neighboring school systems have a lot greater tax base than you have.
I know, that's why there's a
So, and that's the thing, is like, to me, it's like, there is a value with the foreign exchange students being there. I agree 100%, that cultural exchange is huge. But that's why it's always been, ever since I've been in this district, it's been up to the high school principals, because they know what they can or can't take, because that's where the majority of them come, is to the high schools. And they know what they can or can't take based on what their enrollment is for that grade level. And that's why there's always been a fee attached to it, and the fee has always gone to the school that's taking it, because that's where the extra resources had to go, as Ms. Bates put very well, that, that's their part of the local tax money, basically, that's being given to cover the cost for that student for that year, is what it is.
But
So-
so foreign exchange students have to be there before the school year starts, correct?
That's the other issue,
not.
when they come in, and if they come in in
So-
December, they're not gonna be in
So-
OEM, and you're not gonna get any money for it.
So creating some structure where, if you accept a foreign exchange student, they have to come before Labor Day, so to speak. Creating that structure would be wise. Hazel Green has got, I think, 2 or 3 foreign exchange students. So you're looking at, was that $10,500 amount that the school receives from those 3? Is it $3,500?
It's 38, 76 or something like that.
So so I guess what I'm saying is, and maybe it's not possible, but instead of, the school, we as a district give the school the money for those. Say you have you've declared 3 foreign exchange students. we made an investment as a district for those 3 foreign exchange students, so the parents don't have to still give it to the principal. But the district, if they can absorb those 3, the district absorbs that cost versus the parents having to, or the foreign exchange apparatus having to pay that cost. If that's doable.
So could this not be treated the same as, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, someone moving from Texas, they built a house and it's not ready to move into till January 1st. We take that student in, money or no money, correct? I mean, we're not gonna be like, you can't come here till next year.
No.
I understand that it's different being a foreign exchange student because we're kind of quote unquote inviting you in. But I see there's a difference there, but I mean, would it not be the same thing?
For that first year, it's probably cost-wise the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if they came in December from Texas versus a foreign exchange student, it's just that the foreign exchange student won't be allowed to come in December.
Correct. I'm just saying,
But
when
yeah,
we take kids and it doesn't, we take a kid because they moved in and they just happen to move in that time their house is ready. It's not overflowing the school. We have to hire whole nother unit or another teacher because of that.
Well,
we have
I think the way to proceed with this whole topic is the following, is let's do some research, let's come back another day, see, let's get an idea. I lean toward having a cap and encouraging foreign exchange students to coming to our school system, as long as it's economically viable. Is there a number that's uneconomically viable? Yes. We can't have, can we easily afford some type of scholarship that Mr. Curry's talking about? Is there enough play for a number there? There probably is. But I think that these issues should be vetted, and let's talk about this at another meeting.
Okay. My final thing is, I need some clarification from you, Mr. Byrd, about remote work. Are you referring to e-learning days? Because there is no more remote work.
No, sir. Remote work from school board employees, people who take their computer, they set up shop. I know that when we have weather days, that may or may not be remote work. Those are things that I'm interested in.
That's what I'm saying. We don't have remote work anymore.
Okay.
The only remote work is if I approve something specifically for something for a specific reason. We don't do the remote work at all. It's not part of everyone comes, even on like e-learning days, the teachers come to the schools.
I
There
get
isn't
that.
remote work. So that's why I want to clarify what is, if you know a specific situation, I need to be made aware of it, but there
Oh, I'll
isn't.
talk to you in private.
Yeah, there's no remote work, so that's why I don't know what you want me to bring to you that we don't have it. So it wasn't like COVID where people could go ahead and work from home. We don't have that option anymore at all. Everybody comes to work the schedule they're supposed to have.
Okay.
If not, they're absent from the day or they have to take leave of some sort.
Yeah, if they're sick, they take a sick day, things like that.
Yeah.
Remote work's not covering that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just for clarity, because I wasn't aware either, if a staff member, for whatever reason, that didn't work in the classroom or school, needed to work remote, or they could technically do their job remotely, we currently do not allow that.
Correct.
Unless some kind of reason and it's approval through you as a superintendent.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
That works?
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because I wasn't sure if we were talking about e-learning days and
No,
how
sir.
those are structured or not. That's why
We're talking about
I want to make
remote
sure
work.
I have the right remote work, whatever he was referencing, so.
I mean, I would ask though, from your perspective, do you see that as something that needs to be documented, or do you see an avenue where remote work would actually have value in some capacity? Do you see it where we need to put that in policy at some point?
There may be a few select jobs where remote work might be relevant, and like I might even say, in reference to some of Nikki's staff possibly, where you have, something where it's like checking on the server or something like that, and it can be done. So there are, I think, some select few that are possibilities, but for the most part, when you really think about it, our product is the student, and the student is there during the day, and everybody who's working with that student needs to be with that child during that day period. So there really isn't that many jobs that would qualify in a unique situation. And I think on something like that, what I would want is, I would want Nikki to draft why, and then I would want something from either, because her current upline is Alan and Alex. So one of them to justify why this is necessary, so that we actually have a documentation of why we would be justifying what it is.
Those situations, when I see how we.
Sorry, Nikki, it wasn't.
How we do business, I'm not saying, Mr. Curtis, I'm not saying that it's not justified sometimes. I just want to know the process.
Yeah.
And in my mind's eye, there should be an administrative process, which you indicate that you have you do informally. And I think there should be some type of notation on the timesheet, this is remote work. And that's in my mind's eye. And that we don't do it frequently, I'm quite happy about. But if we do it infrequently, we still should have some type of process.
Yeah, oh, I agree, I don't, but the answer is, I would say for 99.9% of it, the answer is we don't have it, period. Yeah, so, yeah.
If you just outline the processes,
Sure.
you have, and anything that involves the timesheet, that would satisfy my request.
Are you ready to hit the?
I'm ready to
I
go.
think Mr. Brooks.
I'm good, I just.
Mr. Brooks,
you
you trying to
trying
wrap us up, Mr. Brooks?
No, I'm good. No, we can stay as long as y'all want to. No, any more discussion?
I do want to, go ahead, no, I mean, you can go ahead and gavel out.
I'm kidding.
As you noticed, Ms. Gross is here this evening. I do want to let you know that, Ms. O'Bannon has been sick. She's been sick probably 10 days now, Ms. Gross? 12 days. She was released from the hospital today. She is on her way home. She's doing better some, but I don't want to get, but she's turned the corner and she's doing a whole lot better. But she was really sick for a while there, and we were really concerned about her. But just want to let you know, if you all keep her in your thoughts and prayers as well. But she's doing better and she's getting stronger by the day, and we hope to see her back maybe later next week sometime, or the week after that. So.
Thank you for the update. I'll certainly add it to my prayer list. Thank you. Yeah.
That's it, sir. Now I'm done.
Okay.
You go right ahead.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Sorry, Mr. Gazor.